Welcome to today's 10 at 10. It's Wednesday already, and it's the 31st of March. I don't quite know how it got to be so Marchish already. I mean, we're getting ready to start April. So, tonight, we're going to be talking about agreements in relationships. And it's all about agreements and boundaries. And I'm talking sex and chores and communication. I have your attention? Good. Welcome to today's 10 at 10, where we're going to take 10 minutes and dive into stuff that's super important because it affects your relationship and it's just going to make your life easier. And that's what we do at Tomorrow's Police Officer. We help you get hired if you're not a law enforcement officer yet. And if you are a law enforcement officer, provide tons of resources, both to help you at work and at home. Now, it's natural and human to have strong emotions. This week at 10 to 10, I'm talking about a couple of really wild ones, specifically jealousy and insecurity and how to deal with them. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wait a second. If we're covering jealousy and insecurity, how does that deal with agreements? Well, it works like this. When you have an agreement with someone, the likelihood of there being insecurity surrounding it or some jealousy surrounding it, it decreases a lot. And these are things that are relationship makers and they're relationship breakers. The divorce rate is a little bit lower than it has been in the past. And that's largely because more people are living together without being married than ever before. The reality, though, is you should not focus on a divorce rate. Instead, focus on the fact that a law enforcement career will have significant impact on your relationships. Be aware and be proactive. I say on a regular basis, live your life by design, not by default. Now, simply listening to this 10 at 10 shows you want to be proactive. And that means you are automatically less likely to become a statistic. Now, for today, I want to talk about agreements in relationships and why you should have these kind of talks. Let's get out of the way. Let's talk sex first. Now, if you're in a loving relationship, you essentially have two choices, monogamy or open. And just because you may have chosen it to be one or the other doesn't mean you won't feel jealous or insecure at some point. Even people with open relationships may feel jealousy and insecurity and go, well, it's an open relationship. Why should they be jealous? It happens. And you need to be able to talk about what you each expect, whatever your agreement is. Now, as an example, in a couple with an open relationship might agree to safe sex only practices with people who are outside of the primary relationship. Or they might say that each partner is going to tell the other if they start a new sexual relationship with someone else. Or it may be one partner wants to know all the details and the other partner doesn't want to know any of the details. The less I know, the better. Now, even with this kind of conversation, it's natural and human to have jealousy emotions, insecurity emotions. And you might need to revisit that talk you had before you even went down this route. And many couples revise their agreement a few months or a few years later. Just because you feel one way today doesn't mean you won't change your mind a few years later. We all grow, we all change, and things like this area are likely to change. Now, there's lots of things that might prompt you to have other discussions about agreements that you need to have in your relationship. Now, some of those agreements span a lot of areas. Chores, the amount of work that you're going to do, that harmony between work and life. And yeah, I said work-life harmony, not work-life balance. I'll be talking about the myth of balance on Friday, day after tomorrow. So make sure you listen in on that one because that's going to be super powerful. Now, pew, P-E-W, as in a church pew, Pew Research did a study that found that 56% of married adults said sharing responsibility for household chores was, quote, very, yeah, I just air quoted, very important to a successful marriage. For right now, let's dive into agreements and like that, and how boundaries give you freedom. And I know it sounds backwards and doesn't seem to make sense, but stick with me for this time and it will. I promise you it will. And it won't take long. So let's take sharing chores as an example. Sharing chores doesn't necessarily mean dividing chores equally. Look, if you're on shift work, and especially if you're working 12 on, 12 off, maybe on your work days, by the time you get home, you have just enough time to grab a quick bite to eat and sleep, and maybe you don't even have time to eat. You just go straight to bed. So on your work days, you don't do any chores. But on the weekends, you pick up the slack. Now, Diane and I, we have certain chores that each of us do. We talked about what we each prefer to do and what we don't like to do, or things that we find tedious. And I'm blessed. I get to do the chores that I prefer, and she gets the ones that she prefers. Now, there's a few like doing dirty dishes, washing dishes and putting them away, that each of us jumps on as one happens to be standing at the sink. And we both know mind doing that, and we share that responsibility. The key thing is that Diane knows I'm carrying my weight, and I know that she is too. And that set of agreements are boundaries. They're limitations. They include responsibilities. And that gives each of us freedom. Freedom to be able to trust that the other is going to do what they agreed to. And think about that for a second. It is also building trust in our relationship because we follow through on doing what we said we were going to do. And we also have the freedom to not worry about whether or not laundry is going to get done. I give it zero thought. I have zero guilt that Diane does laundry 99% of the time, because there's plenty of things that I do 99% of the time. And again, we agreed that was going to be the responsibilities, and we both feel totally comfortable with it. Now, we need to be able to talk about things like chores. We need to be able to approach it in a way that shows your partner that you're more concerned about making sure you communicate than you are about winning a negotiation. There was another survey that was recently done that found that 78% of people who live together said housework caused relationship tension. That tension, if you don't talk it out, it's going to pop up somewhere else. I always say that the fight about you leaving the top off the tube of toothpaste is never about the toothpaste. The last thing I want to cover is the something that I call proof of love. You might say, if you loved me, you would do this. And when your partner is saying, if you loved me, you would stop pushing me to do something I don't want to do. If you think that certain things that they do or don't do are proof that they don't love you or respect you, it increases the problem and makes how you feel about it even worse. Now, we all have individual desires and needs and preferences. That doesn't mean you love each other any more or any less. Loving each other means that you look for the ways to keep communicating and having empathy for each other. Letting the other person know that you understand where they're coming from, that you understand that they're having these feelings. Again, you don't have to agree with them feeling the way that they do. You don't have to agree with the emotions that they're having. You might not even understand why they're having these emotions. What you do need to do to show empathy is show that you understand they are having the emotions, even if you don't understand why. That's what you can talk about. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about what if you are the focus of jealousy? What if your partner is jealous and it's coming out toward you? Maybe they're jealous of a friend of yours, or maybe of work, maybe of someone that doesn't even exist, but you're the one dealing with it. You've got the jealous partner. I'm going to be giving you some really great thoughts on how to deal with that. So check out 10 at 10 tomorrow, and you'll find out what those tools are. Before you leave, be sure to drop in the comments below what agreements work great for you, and how did you work them out? Because it's always interesting to me, and you're going to be helping out a lot of other people too, about how couples work through these kind of hiccups. So do me one more favor. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Smash that like button. It really helps things out. Until tomorrow, stay safe. Bye for now.